The myth of hemispheric dominance within the brain is exactly that, a myth, and one that has lasted for quite a while. Uh, Out of the two sources that I found, one of them has given a possible explanation and origin for this long running myth. Now, the myth in question is the idea that people can be born either left brain or right brain dominant. Of course, one side of the brain is more creative and emotional, with the other side being more analytical and lexically minded. Now, a possible origin for this would be the brain split uh, surgeries of the 1960s. This is surgeries that were performed in order to deal with problems in the brain like epilepsy and seizures. The idea was to sever the corpus callosum, which is the bundle of fibers that connects the hemispheres in your brain. With this severed, the pieces of the brain were not really able to communicate well. These patients were incredibly unique cases because the corpus collectum it has to be severed, purposely. So the scientists that and doctors that were viewing these people were finding different things. Now, this is a very simplified version of what they kind of saw, but what they were witnessing was the right brain being more used for emotional control and checking, but the left brain is more used for analyzing one's thoughts and ideas like that. This could possibly lead to the two dynamics that brain hemisphere dominance usually has in the modern day. It's possible that scientists and educators took these ideas and used them to group mostly children into groups of creative thinkers and analytical thinkers to more efficiently run them through their educational career. My second source was an empirical study on the hemispheres of the brain that allowed for multiple models to be created. One aspect of this study was describing the phenomenon known as unihemispheric slow waves sleep, which is the phenomenon in which an animal has one hemisphere of its brain completely asleep while the other side is completely awake. This is most common in marine mammals, which you would think obvious. If a marine animal had to swim while still being unconscious, a piece of its brain would have to, work towards that function. Through this, we can see that brain hemispheres can work independently and perform different tasks, while others perform. Yeah. The fact of the matter is, humans use their brain for a lot of things. In fact, both sides. In fact, synchronicity between the hemispheres is incredibly important for many functions that we do every day, like being awake and being asleep. While you are asleep, your brain is communicating between the two hemispheres, specifically the many, many hundreds of thousands of neurons that are inside your brain to produce chemicals to keep you immobile, to keep you, calm, keep you continue sleeping, and allow you to dream, things like that. Being awake, it's the same thing. There is also a phenomenon known as the first night sleep. In the second article I'm using, it states that when you are sleeping in a new place, one side of your brain is more active than the other, creating a disturbance, making it so that you cannot sleep as easily. These differences in your brain are structural. Your brain sides develop at different rates because they are, different, but they contain many of the same spots, like the cerebellum. The cerebellum controls all voluntary muscle movement. Your cerebellum is shared between your two hemispheres, but even though they both control muscle movement, it is the right piece of your cerebellum that controls your left arm and the left piece that controls your right arm. So, as you can see, they have similarities, but they also control different aspects. And it is the combination of the two hemispheres that allow us to live our everyday lives.